The first thing you feel isn't the sunlight or the warmth of a bed, but the biting chill of a stone floor against your cheek and the heavy, rhythmic thumping of feet on the wooden planks above your head. You don't wake up to an alarm clock or the soft chirping of birds. You wake up to the sharp, metallic click of a bolt being drawn back and the harsh bark of a voice telling you to move. As you push yourself up, your joints ache with a stiffness that has become your permanent companion. You are in the heart of Rome, the greatest city the world has ever seen. But you are not a citizen. You are not a guest. You are a piece of property. You are a tool with a voice, an instrumentum vocale, and your day has just begun. Take a breath. The air in the cellar is thick with the smell of damp earth, unwashed bodies, and the faint, acrid scent of olive oil lamps that burned out hours ago. You reach up to touch your neck, feeling the cold iron of the collar. It's a simple band, but it carries a weight far beyond its physical ounces. On it, if you could read the Latin inscriptions, it tells anyone who finds you exactly where you belong and who to return you to for a reward. You are one of hundreds of thousands in this city, a silent engine driving the empire, but to the man upstairs, you are no more significant than a sturdy chair or a reliable mule. You scramble to your feet, smoothing out your coarse, undyed wool tunic. It's itchy and smells of old sweat, but it's all you have. There is no time for a breakfast of your own. Your hunger is a dull roar in the back of your mind, but it must wait. You hurry up the narrow, steep stairs into the main part of the villa. The transition is jarring. You leave the shadows of the slave quarters and enter a world of sprawling marble, vibrant frescoes, and the scent of expensive incense. This is the domus of Marcus Aurelius Felix, a man of wealth and influence, and for the next 18 hours, your entire existence is dedicated to his comfort. Your first task is the most delicate, the awakening of the master. You enter his bedchamber silently. The air here is sweet with the smell of rosewater. You move to the windows, pulling back the heavy tapestries to let the Roman sun flood the room. You watch him stir, a man who has never had to dress himself or pour his own wine. You approach the bed with a basin of warm water and a linen cloth. You must be invisible, yet perfectly attentive. As he sits up, you wash his face and hands. You don't make eye contact. To look a master directly in the eye without being spoken to is a gamble you aren't willing to take today. Now comes the most complex engineering feat of the morning, the toga. It is 6 yards of heavy wool, draped in a specific, agonizingly precise manner. You and another slave work in tandem, folding, tucking, and pinning. If a single fold is out of place, if the drape over the left shoulder doesn't fall with the exact required gravitas, you might feel the sting of a cane across your shoulders. You hold your breath as you adjust the sinus, the overhanging fold. Felix grunts, looking at his reflection in a polished silver mirror held by another young boy. He nods. You are safe for another hour. As the master moves to the atrium to receive his clients for the morning salutatio, your work shifts. You are now part of the household machinery. You grab a broom made of twigs and begin sweeping the mosaic floors. You scrub the soot from the oil lamps. You polish the bronze statues until they gleam. All around you, the villa is a hive of activity. You see the Greek slave, a man far more educated than your master, heading toward the library to organize scrolls. You see the kitchen slaves, their faces red from the heat of the charcoal fires, rushing back and forth with trays of bread, honey, and olives. There is a hierarchy here, a ladder of suffering. You are somewhere in the middle, a domestic servant, far better off than the poor souls chained in the grain mills or the dying men in the sulfur mines, but still, your life hangs by a thread of your master's whim. By mid-morning, the master is ready to head into the city, and you are chosen to accompany him as part of his entourage. This is a position of status among the slaves, but it is physically exhausting. You walk behind his litter, carried by 6 burly slaves from Thrace. The streets of Rome are a sensory assault. The noise is a constant, deafening roar. The shouting of vendors, the clatter of carts, the arguments of lawyers, and the endless shuffling of thousands of feet. The smell is even worse. It's a cocktail of rotting vegetables, animal dung, and the overpowering stench of the open sewers. You weave through the crowds in the Subura, the city's most crowded district. You see the towering insulae, the apartment blocks that look like they might collapse at any moment. You see other slaves, branded on their foreheads with the letters FUG for fugitivus, a permanent mark of their attempt to escape. It's a reminder of what happens if you try to run. You keep your head down, focusing on the back of the master's litter. Your job is to clear a path, to nudge people aside, to be the physical manifestation of his importance. At the forum, the master stops to talk politics. You stand behind him, motionless in the heat. The sun beats down on your head, and the wool of your tunic begins to chafe. You watch the elite of Rome in their bleached white togas, debating the fate of provinces you've only heard of in whispers. It's a strange feeling, being in the center of the world's power and having absolutely zero agency within it. You are a ghost in the machine. You hear secrets that could topple senators, gossip about the emperor's latest scandals, and financial deals involving millions of sesterces. But you are a wall. You hear nothing. You know nothing. Lunch is a quick affair. While the master dines at a high-end thermopolium, you are given a hunk of hard gray bread and a handful of bitter olives. You eat standing up in an alleyway, washing it down with posca, vinegar mixed with water. It's sharp and sour, but it cuts through the dust in your throat. You look at the graffiti on the walls, crude drawings and names of gladiators, and you wonder about the slave who wrote them. Was he freed? Is he dead? Or is he, like you, standing in another alleyway somewhere, waiting for a bell to ring? The afternoon is spent at the public baths, the Thermae of Agrippa. This is where the real work begins. The baths are a sprawling complex of steam and marble, and for a slave, they are a nightmare of logistics. You carry the master's oil flasks, his strigils, and his change of clothes. You follow him into the apoditerium, the changing room, and carefully fold his clothes, guarding them with your life. Theft is rampant here, and if his silk tunic disappears, it's your skin that will pay the price. Inside the hot rooms, the caldarium, the air is thick with steam and the smell of sweat. You are tasked with scraping the master's skin. You apply the olive oil, then use the curved metal strigil to scrape away the dirt and oil. It's a rhythmic, hypnotic task. You have to be firm enough to clean, but gentle enough not to scratch. You watch the muscles of his back, the soft skin of a man who has never performed manual labor, and you feel a flicker of something, not quite hatred, but a profound, hollow realization of the unfairness of the world. You see other slaves here, some being used as footstools, others massaging their masters with practiced, tired hands. After the baths, the master is refreshed, but you are drenched in sweat and exhausted. But the day is far from over. The evening is for the convivium, the dinner party. This is the ultimate test of a household slave. The villa is transformed. Tables are set with silver plates and crystal glasses. The air is filled with the smell of roasting pig stuffed with sausages, dormice glazed in honey and poppy seeds, and spicy wine from the hills of Campania. You are assigned to the dining room. Your job is to stand behind the master's couch. You must anticipate his every need before he even realizes it. If his wine cup is half empty, you refill it. If a crumb falls on his lap, you whisk it away. If he needs to wash his hands between courses, you are there with a silver basin and a scented towel. The guests are loud and increasingly drunk. They tell jokes that you must not laugh at. They discuss philosophy that you are not supposed to understand. As the night wears on, the atmosphere shifts. The refined veneer of Roman society begins to slip under the influence of undiluted wine. You see a guest berate a young slave boy for dropping a piece of fruit, the man's face turning a dark, ugly purple as he screams insults. You see the master's wife whispering to a handsome slave in the corner, a dangerous game of power and lust. You remain a statue. You have learned to disconnect your mind from your body. Your body is a servant, but your mind is a fortress, where you keep the memories of your home, the family you were taken from, and the language you are slowly forgetting. One of the guests asks for a specific wine from the cellar, and you are sent to fetch it. For a moment, as you walk through the quiet, torch-lit corridors of the villa, you are alone. You stop by a small fountain in the peristyle garden. The moonlight hits the water, and for a second, the beauty of the place breaks through your exhaustion. You look at your hands, calloused, stained, but strong. You think about the peculium, the small amount of money you've managed to scrape together over the years. A few coins tipped by guests, a bit of money saved from your meager rations. It's hidden in a hole beneath the floorboards of your sleeping quarters. In Rome, slavery isn't always a life sentence. There is the hope of manumission. If you work hard enough, if you are loyal enough, or if you simply save enough, you might one day buy your freedom. You could become a liberatus, a freedman. You would still be tied to your master as a client, but you would be a person. You could marry. You could own property. You could even own slaves of your own. It is the great Roman carrot, the promise that keeps the millions of slaves from rising up and burning the city to the ground. It is a slim hope, a gambler's dream, but it is the only thing that keeps you moving. You return to the dining room with the wine. The party is reaching its crescendo. Dancers have been brought in, and the music of flutes and lyres fills the air. You stand in your spot, your legs aching, your head throbbing. You watch the master laugh, his arm around a friend, and you realize that he doesn't even know your name. To him, you are simply boy or slave. You are a utility, like the plumbing that brings water to his fountains. Finally, in the early hours of the morning, the last guest stumbles out. The master is led to his bed by his personal valet. The villa, so full of noise and light an hour ago, falls into a heavy, wine-soaked silence. But your work is not done. You and the other domestic slaves must clear the tables. You scrape the remains of the feast, food that would feed your family for a month, into buckets for the pigs. You wash the silver, dry the glass, and reset the furniture. Your eyes are heavy, your movements sluggish. You bump into a table, and the sound of wood on stone seems to echo like a thunderclap in the quiet house. You freeze, waiting for a shout, but none comes. As you finally descend the stairs to the slave quarters, the first gray light of dawn is beginning to touch the sky. You have been awake for 20 hours. You collapse onto your thin mat on the stone floor. Your muscles twitch with fatigue. You reach up and touch the iron collar again. It's warm now, heated by your own body. You close your eyes and try to remember the smell of the sea in the place you were born. You try to remember the sound of your mother's voice. But the images are fading, replaced by the endless cycle of the villa, the weight of the toga, and the smell of the master's rosewater. You are a slave in Rome. You are the foundation upon which this empire is built. Your labor paves the roads, your hands build the temples, and your silence maintains the peace. Tomorrow, the bolt will slide back again. Tomorrow, the master will wake up and need his face washed. Tomorrow, the toga will need to be draped. You drift into a shallow, fitful sleep, holding on to that single, golden thought of the coins hidden under the floor. You are property today, but in your dreams, you are walking through the gates of the city, the iron collar gone, the sun on your back. And for the first time in your life, you are choosing which way to turn. But for now, the darkness of the cellar is your only home. The city above you begins to stir. The first carts are rumbling over the cobblestones. The bakers are lighting their ovens. The great machine of Rome is waking up, and it is hungry for your labor. You have 2 hours of sleep left before the voice at the door calls you back to the world of the living tools. You breathe in the damp air, pull your thin tunic tight around you, and disappear into the shadows of history. The cycle of your life is measured not in years, but in tasks. You learn the moods of the house like a sailor learns the sea. You know that when the master's business deals in the East are failing, you must be even more invisible, even more perfect. You learn that the mistress of the house has a cruel streak that comes out when she feels ignored, and you learn to avoid her path. You become an expert in the human psyche, not out of curiosity, but out of survival. You see the world through the cracks in the door. You see the glory of the triumphs, the generals riding in gold-plated chariots, the lines of captives from far-off lands, Gauls with long hair, Germans with fierce eyes, North Africans with skin the color of polished ebony. You look at them and see yourself 5 years ago, standing on the stone platform in the slave market, the white chalk on your feet marking you as a new arrival, the sign around your neck listing your age, your health, and your origin. You remember the humiliation of being inspected like a piece of livestock, the cold hands of buyers checking your teeth and the strength of your limbs. You were lucky. You ended up in a wealthy household. You could have been sent to the latifundia, the massive agricultural estates in the south, where slaves are worked to death under the scorching sun, sleeping in underground prisons called ergastula. You could have been sent to the galleys, chained to an oar until your heart gave out. In Rome, luck is the only thing that separates a life of quiet desperation from a life of agonizing brutality. Sometimes you talk to the other slaves in the brief moments of rest. You speak in a hushed mix of Latin and your native tongues. You share rumors of a slave revolt in the countryside, whispers of a new religion that claims all people are equal in the eyes of a single God. You talk about the Saturnalia, the December festival where the world turns upside down. For a few days, the masters serve the slaves. You get to wear the pileus, the cap of freedom. You get to eat at the table and speak your mind. It's a cruel joke, a safety valve to let off the steam of rebellion, but you live for those days. For those few hours, you can pretend the iron collar isn't there. But the Saturnalia is months away. Today is just another day of service. You find yourself back in the kitchen, helping the cook prepare for a smaller lunch. The cook is a veteran, a man who has been in the villa for 20 years. He has a scar across his cheek from a boiling pot thrown by a previous master. He doesn't speak much, but he sometimes slips you an extra piece of meat or a crust of better bread. There is a silent solidarity among the familia. You protect each other when you can. You hide each other's mistakes. You are a family not by blood, but by shared bondage. You are sent on an errand to the laundry, a fulonica. The smell here is overwhelming, the scent of stale urine used to bleach the clothes. You watch the slaves there, standing in deep vats, treading on the cloth all day long. Their legs are covered in sores, their eyes red from the fumes. You realize with a sudden, sharp pang of guilt that you are grateful for your itchy wool tunic and your stone floor. In Rome, there is always someone lower than you. There is always a deeper circle of hell. As you walk back to the villa, you pass a group of children playing in the street. They are wearing the bulla, the protective amulet of freeborn children. They are laughing, chasing each other with wooden swords. You stop for a moment, watching them. One of the boys looks like your younger brother might have looked by now. The boy trips and falls, and a slave immediately rushes to pick him up, dusting off his knees, comforting him. That slave is a pedagogus, a tutor and guardian. He is likely more educated than the child's father, yet he is bound to this boy's service. The boy will grow up to command men, and the slave will grow old and perhaps be cast out when he is no longer useful. This is the reality of your world. It is a world of sharp contrasts, of staggering beauty and stomach-turning cruelty. It is a world where you can be killed for a broken vase or freed for a witty remark. You live in the tension between these two extremes. You have learned to be hyper-aware, to read the tension in a room, to hear the unspoken threats in a polite conversation. Your ears are your most valuable tool. You hear the master's creditors knocking at the door. You hear the mistress's secret meetings. You hear the whispers of the guards. Information is the only currency you have other than the coins under the floor. Evening falls again. The shadows lengthen across the marble floors. You are back in the atrium, lighting the lamps. The flame flickers, casting long, dancing shadows against the frescoes of gods and heroes. You look at the image of Hercules performing his labors, and you feel a strange kinship. But Hercules was a god, and his labors had an end. Your labors are the quiet, repetitive tasks that leave no mark on history. You are the dust that is swept away, the water that is poured out, the oil that is burned. You stand by the door as the master returns from a long day at the Senate. He looks tired, his face lined with the stresses of power. For a moment, you see him not as a master, but as a man, flawed, aging, and perhaps just as trapped in his role as you are in yours. But then he snaps his fingers, not even looking at you, and the moment vanishes. He is the master, and you are the slave. The roles are set, the script is written, and the play must go on. You help him out of his toga, the heavy wool falling to the floor like a discarded skin. You lead him to his bath, you prepare his wine, and you prepare yourself for another night of standing in the shadows. Your feet ache. Your back is a knot of tension, and your stomach growls with a hunger that never truly goes away. But you are alive. In the city of 1,000,000 souls, you have survived another day. As the house finally grows still, you make your way back down to the cellar. You reach into the hole in the floor and touch the small leather pouch. You count the coins by touch. 1, 2, 3 silver denarii, and a handful of bronze sesterces. It isn't much. It's not enough for freedom yet. But it's a start. It's a physical manifestation of your will to exist, to be something more than an instrumentum vocale. You lie down on your mat, the cold of the stone seeping into your bones. You listen to the sounds of the city outside, the distant shouts of the night watch, the howl of a stray dog, the wind whistling through the narrow alleys. You are a slave in Rome, a ghost in the heart of the empire. But as you drift into sleep, you are not thinking of the master or the villa. You are thinking of the sea. You are thinking of the wind. You are thinking of a name that no one has called you in years, a name that belongs to a free man. And in the silence of the night, that name is enough. The sun will rise again in a few hours. The bolt will slide back, the voice will bark, and you will rise. You will wash the face of the man who owns you. You will drape the wool that marks his status, and you will walk the streets of the city that built its glory on your back. You are the silent foundation of Rome. And though the world may forget your name, the stones of the city will always remember your touch. You are a slave, but in the secret places of your heart, you are already beginning to be free. The weight of the day settles over you like a heavy blanket. Your breathing slows. The darkness of the cellar is no longer a prison, but a sanctuary. Here, in the quiet, you are not a tool. You are not property. You are just a human being, tired and dreaming of a different life. The empire above you is vast and powerful, but it cannot reach into your dreams. It cannot take the memories of the home you once had. You think of the thousands of others lying on floors just like this one, all across the city, from the Palatine Hill to the slums of the Transtiberum, a silent army of the exploited, waiting for the morning. You are not alone in your suffering, and there is a strange, cold comfort in that. You are part of the pulse of Rome, the hidden heartbeat that keeps the city alive. As the last embers of your consciousness fade, you feel the iron collar around your neck. It is a part of you now, as much as your skin or your hair. But it is only metal. It can be broken. It can be removed. And one day, whether through the coins in the floor or the finality of the grave, it will be. With that thought, you finally surrender to the dark, the echoes of the city fading into the distance, leaving you in the only peace you will ever know.
If you liked this video, please hit the like and subscribe button for more.